This might be the most difficult one I've done. I'm going to have trouble getting through this one, I know it, because we lost a great soul this past weekend. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Dave Palumbo here with an RXMuscle news update. This might be the most difficult one I've done. I'm going to have trouble getting through this one, I know it, because we lost a great soul this past weekend. A good friend of mine, an IFBB Pro bodybuilder, one of the most loyal, as I'll use his term, soldiers and souls I've ever known, Eugene Mishin, passed yesterday. I received the news from his former wife, Lena Mishin, and I was heartbroken. Those of you who have been following RXMuscle for the last 15 years have known that Eugene Mishin was a regular on most of the RXMuscle TV programming. I've known Eugene for over 15 years, well before RXMuscle even started, probably almost 20 years. He came over here as a IFBB Russian pro who didn't speak a word of English. He went to the Arnold Classic because Arnold Schwarzenegger was his hero. And when he gazed upon the eyes of Lena, he said, "That's the woman I want to be with." But he couldn't speak English. So he spent the entire next year learning to speak a few words of English so that he can come back 1 year later to the Arnold Classic in hopes that this woman would still be there, that she would come back again, and that he would be able to approach her this time and say, "Hey, my name is Eugene. I would like to get your phone number. I find you attractive." And that's what he did. And she was there. And so began their relationship. And so began my friendship with Eugene, because Lena was a good friend of mine. I was helping her diet for competitions. And she said, "I met this great guy. He's from Russia. You got to meet him." And we went out to eat with him. And he didn't speak a lot of English, but he learned. And soon they became close, and they moved in together. They became a couple. And eventually they got married at the Arnold Expo, believe it or not. When I was working for Muscular Development at the booth we had there, they took their vows. And Eugene and I became closer. I actually started working with him with his diet, helping him in his goals. His goals was to make it to the Mr. Olympia competition. And every week he would come on the TV show. He would wear a different military outfit because Eugene loved to dress up in military regalia. And he would tell us stories about what life was like in Russia growing up. You know, American kids, we would go out in the woods and we would play and climb trees and play hide and seek. In Russia, they would go to the woods and they would look for old landmines and grenades that hadn't exploded from World War II and dig up tanks that were in the ground. And he would tell us the stories about how he would bring these back to his house, these live hand grenades and landmines that they would dig up. And the stories were almost unbelievable, but you knew Eugene could not lie. He was incapable of it. He was that kind of a guy. And if he liked you and he was loyal to you, he would defend you to the end of time. And that's exactly what he did. He became a really true friend of mine. And We had a lot of fun times together. We would go out and eat sushi together. And he was one of the few people that could rival how much food that I could eat at a meal. And we would be asked to leave these sushi places sometimes because we would eat so much food there. And we always had a really good time. And Eugene had a great sense of humor, although he was very offbeat in his humor. And he got into acting in addition to competing. And he appeared in several very well-known and very popular commercials. Probably my favorite was when he was in the Applegate ads. Applegate is like a steroid-free, hormone-free, organic, like deli meat type of company. They had him dressed as a cow, and he would always have a needle sticking out of his arm. They would ask him if he's steroid-free, and he would say yes with a straight face with his Russian accent. And they would always ask what the needle in the arm is. He's like, nothing. He would say it with a straight Russian accent without even smiling. And it was very funny. He would tell us stories about how he would watch Rocky III. And he would root for Ivan Drago, the Russian boxer in the movie, the fictitious character. And he would root for him to win every single time. And he would watch the movie hundreds and hundreds of times, especially while he's preparing for his competitions. And he would root for him every time, knowing that he wasn't going to win the fight. But he always rooted for Ivan Drago. And he loved those movies. And he would watch them hundreds and hundreds of times, over and over and over. He would tell us every scene. He would act it out. He knew all the lines. And that was Eugene. Super intense. If I told him don't eat carbs, he wouldn't eat 1 gram of carbs. There wouldn't be one morsel that would enter this guy's mouth. If I told him not to drink for a week, he wouldn't drink for a week. That's how militant he was in following the rules that were laid out for him. And you know what? In 2010, he placed 3rd at the IFBB Orlando Pro Show. He did it again in 2011. And both years he qualified for the Mr. Olympia competition. His dream of dreams, to stand on the stage with the best bodybuilders in the world, something he fantasized about as a child, he made that a reality. He said, Dave, I'm going to be on that Olympia stage one day. And I said, I don't doubt you, will. And he did. And he told me, Dave, I'm going to be in movies and I'm going to be in commercials on TV. I said, I don't have any doubt that you will. And he did that as well. And he was very loyal to his friends, to his family. He helped raise Lena's 4 children that she had from previous marriages. He had a very positive impact on their life because Eugene at heart was a softie, but you didn't want to get him mad because otherwise I will break you. That was his favorite line from Rocky III. And you didn't want Eugene to break you because Eugene would break you. When I would see him get mad, it was scary, and people would run the other way. I don't think I've ever seen more people back down from him. I don't think I've ever seen anyone try to stand up to him when he would get into that anger mode, because he was very serious looking and he was very dangerous looking. But like I said, he defended his friends with honor and loyalty like I've never seen from anyone else, and I would venture to say that he might have been the most loyal friend I've ever had in that sense. When I found out that he had passed 24 hours ago, I was very saddened. He was with Lena. They were just relaxing, talking about the future and what it would be like for them, because they had kind of rekindled their romance. And Eugene was very positive about it. He was looking forward to it. And next thing, he gasped for air, and that was it. He was gone. And there was nothing that could be done. The paramedics worked on him for over 45 minutes, but that was it. Eugene's candle had blown out at that point, and he has passed on to another realm. And he will be missed by Lena, his friends, yours truly, the bodybuilding world. He had so much more to contribute. I really wish we had more time with him, but That's it. You never know when your last day might be. And that's why, in Eugene's words, it's important to live every day as if it's your last. And as a matter of fact, Eugene and Lena had traveled together recently out to Utah because Eugene wanted to get an original Humvee. You guys remember the Hummer. Well, it was based on the original Humvee military vehicle that Arnold Schwarzenegger originally brought in from Europe. I guess they still have them. There was a place that sold them out in Utah, and Eugene and Lena went out there to test drive some of them. Eventually, Eugene did buy a Humvee. He was in the process of restoring it, and if you lived in the New York area, you would see Eugene riding this around with his military fatigues on and just loving life. This was Eugene 100%. I wish I could have gone for a ride with him because it certainly would have been a very memorable experience. Eugene, I'll miss you. I'll miss our friendship. I know we didn't talk that much since I've moved to Florida over the last couple of years, but I thought about you, and hopefully we will have a show on Tuesday after hours. We'll play some of the clips from some of the past Heavy Muscle TV shows where Eugene appeared on a regular basis. Some of the skits that we did, some of the stories he told are monumental. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll smile. Eugene had a very interesting way of healing himself. He had a lot of medicinal procedures that he developed himself to heal himself that were, how shall we say, unconventional at best. But they all worked. I don't know if it was a Russian mysticism or just Eugene's innate instincts on how his body worked, but for some reason they worked for Eugene. Eugene's favorite line from Rocky III, I think, had to be, "If he dies, he dies." That's not my favorite line. We needed Eugene Mishin in this world a lot longer. Dave Palumbo with an RXMuscle news update.